Hello, sweet beans, and welcome to another episode of Polysaturated. Believe this is our 8th episode, and we are going to talk about societal acceptance. We had an exceptionally rough day today with being societally accepted.
That's true.
I am here with
Zan
and
Crow,
and I'm Jay, and we're going to talk about a kind of a rough subject today.
Yeah, dealing with fuckers.
I'm pretty raw today. So if you
buckle
came
up.
for, joy and laughter, well, you might get some of that, but you're going to get some frustration too, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We promised you real.
Hey, we're going to keep it real.
Part of living life is living the frustrations, and today was one of them. And unfortunately, we stumble upon quite a few frustrating situations, especially when you have a poly-blended family, when your parents by poly or kids by poly. Those are my terms. I own those. So
Trademark, copyright.
Yeah. Hashtag, whatever.
Well, since you've come up
All
with
those.
a term, you have to give us a definition.
So, definitions. I like those.
Definitions.
Kind of. But people take them and do weird things with them, and it makes me feel...
Wait, don't you do weird things with definitions?
I do, actually, but
And you
that's
make up shit
my
as you go?
doing weird things with definitions, so it's totally acceptable.
We're reaching into the definition vault now. We are at 30 meters.
I didn't know the vault made that slurping sound. I'm kind of worried now.
Hey.
Only if you're lucky.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Oh.
Jay.
Okay, so when I say parent by poly, that means you became a parent of your partner's children, and so they are now your children by poly. And so children by poly are children that are now your...
They are technically kind of like stepchildren.
Kind of, but you treat them more as your own. They're your kids.
Well, don't step-parents treat their kids as their
Not
own?
always, no.
So, step-parent without the connotation. No.
Parent.
Parent.
Okay, let's
The
just
word
go
Parent
with
would be the correct term, but therein also lies a problem, and some parents aren't really parents.
That's so true, and it's one of those things that you see demonstrated over and over again. You've got people who are biologically related, either with siblings or with children, or for one reason or another, because people aren't perfect, because society is the way it is, because whatever. So the thing is, people who are born into or related by blood in a particular role don't always fit that role. And the thing is blood relation happens. I don't know if any of you have noticed, sex has a tendency to cause children.
I believe it's the number one cause.
And some people are good at one of those things without necessarily being good at the other.
You see, I don't know if my dad's good at sex, but he does have kids.
See?
He doesn't really claim them all, but
Well,
he
you
has
didn't
them.
say you had to be good at sex to have kids. You
Just good at
had-
procreating.
Right.
Some
Just
people are
that
very
sex
good.
does cause children.
Some people are very good at procreating without actually being good at the rest of it.
Like my dad.
We don't need to, point fingers at your dad directly, but...
Oh, no, I'm totally fine
And
with
just
that.
so that we clarify, we're not actually talking about kids the entire time this time. We are going to talk about societal acceptance as a whole. I know we've touched upon this in the past with different things like coming out in the workplace and how people take it and things like that, but we're really going to delve into the lower nether regions of
down deep
of
in the cockles of your heart, the subcoccular area.
The ridiculous dumb assery that we have to put up with as being polyamorous.
I think the technical term is fremunda.
Well, no, that insinuates something
Fermunda.
different. I don't.
Where we had our rough day today is just dealing with society that just is not just using their Monaga goggles.
Monaga goggles.
Yes, that is also patented. You can't touch that one.
Patented, trademark,
mine.
registered, copyright.
Mm-hmm. Not just that, but they're just everything they do is geared from it. So it's not just a matter of, oh, that's not what I'm used to, I'll just go in this direction now. It's, I literally can't because my paperwork doesn't have a spot for it.
Which is not technically true, probably.
Which is not even true
Right.
because we actually filed special paperwork to be able to do the things that we were trying to do today.
But getting told that, oh no, only a biological parent can do this, from the school, which is something that if you're blending families, if you're nesting, this is something that you will have to deal with. You got to deal with schools.
So in other words, that if you have a kid and you have a spouse or a significant other,
that you want to be a significant part of your child's life,
poly or not, they will give you shit for it because you're not technically a biological parent.
Right.
So
now it's worse than that, because even if you're not a biological parent, one of our dear friends, he's been providing foster care for a number of years.
Many years. And he's really good at it.
And he's very good at it.
He's awesome.
He and his wife are wonderful people, and they love transitioning children to their next step. And that's what they always say. That's what being a parent is all about. You're getting the child ready for their next step, whatever it is. Always.
Whether it's them keeping the kids for the rest of their lives, which they love doing, or whether it's, the parents getting the kids back or going into a more permanent situation. They foster the kids for the next step, which is what most parents do.
Now, here's the news flash on that. The school doesn't give them trouble.
Right.
Imagine that.
Now, why would
There's
they give...
magically slots for them to fit into.
Right.
There's magically rights that are given to these people to be able to care for, make decisions for, do things for, and act on behalf of these children.
And to contradict what the school actually told us today, they weren't biologically related to the children.
Yeah.
Neither of them were. So neither of them, according to what the school tried to tell us today, should have had any rights with the children whatsoever, yet they did. Why? Because foster care is accepted and polyamorous families are not.
Right.
Well,
even though we filed the paperwork.
According to the school, it's not just poly, though. It is anybody not related. So if you're living with a boyfriend or a girlfriend who is not the biological parent of the kid that goes to the school, therefore you can't do shit.
Well, I asked them specifically, the step-parents aren't going to have rights to this information either?
And this is what they said.
And they said, no, because they're not biologically related. We don't have access for non-biologically related parental figures at this time.
Which I don't claim to know every county. I don't claim to know all the laws, but I'm going to tell you right now is a big, heaping, steaming pile of bullshit.
Right.
Not just shit. It is shit from the bowl.
But bowls are nice sometimes.
Sometimes they can be, but they do leave big piles of steaming stuff behind them. And that was what they were trying to tell Jay when Jay was trying to work with the school dealing with the children.
And this is not the first time, the 10th time, the 20th time. This is nearly every time. Nearly every single time.
No,
and this is something that you have to be aware of and prepared for. Not only...
It's not going to be every school. It's this particular school in general, so which means that it's not going to be every school. It's going to be specific schools who just like to be a pain in the ass to parents.
As an example, we don't have anywhere near this much trouble with our youngest daughter's school.
Right. They actually
she attends a different school.
Right.
Then.
They actually appreciate the fact that there's people that care about the kid. Imagine that.
Wow.
Somebody cares and they like doing stuff with the kid? Oh, no.
Which you would think with people who are around children all the time, who have made it their vocation to prepare children, who have made it their absolute calling to help children along the way, you would think they would be overjoyed to have parental figures in this child's life that actually care and actually want to interact and actually want to go to the websites to check their homework and actually want to keep track of what's going on in their schooling and in their education. You would think the school would be all over that.
No, but instead, fuck knuckles want to cause trouble.
Because it isn't in a line with their particular values, whether they're religious-based or just societally based.
And again, this is a public school.
Yeah.
Well, we are in a particular state, the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. In some of the other places we would have lived, I thought we would have encountered way more problems there.
But we didn't. So, but this is not just dealing with
children.
No.
This is spouses.
Right.
So even if you were to sign, let's just say Zan and I are married.
Mm-hmm.
If I were, and I have, signed paperwork to get Crow the same accessibility and rights to my care and my health and access to my information, I have to go through painstaking methods. Mm-hmm. And it has to be noted. Lines have to be crossed and dotted. You almost have to have an attorney present at every single thing that you try to do, depending on who you're dealing with, because they, by all means, have rights to not allow them access to your room, to your records, to even knowing that you exist in the place. Say I got into a horrific accident. I didn't even know who I was, where I was. They somehow managed to find my information. They would not call Crow
at all. They would call me.
Maybe.
But the thing is that if they would call me, there's a good chance I may not answer because I'm in places where I don't have signal.
Exactly. I know there are paperworks and things that exist out there to be able to take care of this in a better way. Mm-hmm. But even when you go through the painstaking methods of filling those paperworks out, they have the right to not acknowledge them.
According to them.
I'm not an attorney.
They don't have the right. They have the position.
They have the position. That's a better term.
Better term, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because what it is I'm not the one sitting behind the computer. You know, I may be maimed, all jacked up in a body cast in the room. So I have no idea what is going on, other than that I've signed over all rights for Crow to be able to have access to me. And they can decide behind their elitist position on their personal values and beliefs whether they want to actually acknowledge and honor that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Poly Life Hack would probably be, get a copy of the papers that give you permission to do this and that, and have it kind of accessible so that you can grab it on your way to the hospital or on the way to the school or whatever. I suggest different folders that you can kind of grab on your way out the door, perhaps, or something along those lines, that just, you're getting ready to go, you're going to such and such a school where your youngest daughter is, and she's not biologically related to you, so you need to grab this file just to make sure. Have it on your hand so that when you get there and they give you any resistance, which not everybody does, but if they do, if they decide to abuse their position and say, no, I don't see any record, you'd be amazed when oh, hey, we signed all this paperwork. Oh, wait. Without touching any keys. Without touching any keys on the computer, they suddenly see the note that is written in where these papers have been signed.
Or the actual notarized document that has been filed to whatever organization to permit this thing that you're trying to do, yet they didn't recognize it because why?
They didn't feel like it.
Because they didn't want to. And that's a simple thing. And we're not trying to discourage your polycule. We're not trying to discourage your nesting. We want you to know how difficult it could be.
Because quite frankly, the more that people push for their rights, the rights that you have access to, that people still refuse to acknowledge, the more people push for that and actually use their weight, then the more it's going to be normalized, and the more it's going to be something that we don't have to deal with anymore.
Right. So we're talking about schools, we're talking about kids, we're talking about, hospitalization, stuff like that. But another thing that could be very well part of society acceptance is at work. Now, I know for a fact that people I work with are having affairs. And I know, Jay, you posted something the other day about, Willy Wonka.
Oh, yes. It was, polyamory is morally wrong, huh? How's your affair going?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so Jay posted that the other day on our Facebook page. The thing is that I know so many people that have had affairs and are having affairs with coworkers. Gasp. Coworkers.
Ooh. This is something so common, it's almost expected to a certain degree.
Exactly.
It is, actually. I think you, Crow, had a conversation with a coworker that asked how long you had been married, and they were like, oh, yeah, your wife is going to wander. That's a normal thing.
Yeah, that was actually, I had a conversation once with a customer when I was in sales. I was working at a particular store, and...
Was it a mattress store?
It was. We didn't have to go into that. Okay. But
the woman...